promised, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get into some predictions. We've already talked about what has happened in the play-in tournament. Now it's talking about what will happen in the play-in tournament. We have 5 playoff predictions. I have 2. Jake has 3 for you. And I think I will go ahead and start us off because I think this will be the coolest one of possibly all the takes. Jake, I'm going to ask for your opinion shortly. Celtics, tidy up the East. That's what I think. Get your brooms out because here come the sweeps and the gentlemen's sweeps. The 76ers are likely to win tonight. The Heat into the season playing .500 basketball. I know everyone wants to point to recent Heat playoffs games, but if they can't show me tonight against easier competition, when in dire need of wins, and especially to end the season not finishing above .500, I don't expect it to show up against the best team in the NBA this far. I expect the Cavaliers matchup in the second round versus Boston because Orlando's just a little bit too fresh and no one can really hang with Donovan Mitchell on that squad. The Spider is a must-watch in the playoffs. My favorite playoff series ever was actually Mitchell's and Denver's Jamal Murray's when they traded buckets back and forth, including both players putting up 50 in Game 4 of that series. That was spectacular. I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers are an interesting team. However, the Celtics have all sorts of answers for the talented guards the Cavaliers have, starting with the underrated Drew Holiday and continuing about 5 names down. This series should be fun and fin in 5. How do you like that?
I like it.
The conference finals is the last barrier to the Celtics. And getting back to the NBA finals, the other side of the bracket is a real true toss-up. Don't know who's coming out of that side of the Eastern bracket right now. The Knicks or 76ers will likely survive to face the Celtics, but will be facing a maxed momentum team that will have the luxury of being fully rested. I see the Celtics losing 2 games, maybe 3 at the most, during their takeover of the East. Jake, what are your thoughts?
That is not a very hot take in my opinion. I think that is I don't say it's that bad because I kind of agree with you. Honestly, I think that the Celtics are gonna clean up the East. I don't think they're gonna have a whole lot of trouble. They might in the Eastern Conference Finals, but before that, I think it'll be a breeze.
Okay, so go ahead and tell me right now, Celtics Cavaliers second round. How many games does it take the Celtics to polish them off?
Second round against, I say it'll take them 6 games.
6 games.
Yep.
Okay. What about the 76ers in
76ers?
the conference final?
In the conference final, 76ers, I say 5 at most.
Ooh, so you think that the Cavaliers will put up a better fight against the Celtics?
I do, yeah. I think Embiid's gonna try, but I don't know what else. They have. I don't know how else it's gonna work out for him. But I think Mitchell's gonna absolutely go off.
All right. So you did say, hey, the only thing I think was too crazy. I don't have to ask you about round 1. I know you're gonna say 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So you're really saying that maybe a little bit of struggle against the Cavs, but otherwise they sleek through. I think that was about how I thought it would land with you. Go ahead.
All right, so my first playoff prediction, mine are more player-centric, and they're all very hot. So my first playoff prediction, Nikola Jokic will average a 20-point triple-double in the playoffs.
A 20-point triple-double.
That is going to be his average.
So you're thinking
I'm thinking he is going to have a bonkers playoffs this.
Like a 21, 11, and 10?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not hot at all. I think that's cool.
Think so?
I think that's cooler than my picture. I mean, yes, this team's interesting. And the Nuggets, the more they grow, I expect the weight to come off of Jokic a little more and a little more. But this, this is a really, I don't know what Jokic's numbers last year were, but it has to be similar.
I don't know, but I think it was triple double ish, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was that much.
I bet it was over 20.
You think it was over 20?
Yeah. You know what? Go ahead and look that up for us.
Right,
I'll go ahead and shoot in a second, but I say that is not a hot take at all. In fact, I think the floor would be like a 29 and 8 for him. So I mean, even the floor being that is quite sane. All right. While you're looking that up, I am going. Go ahead. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Oh man.
Hit me.
He averaged 30 points, 13 rebounds and 9.5 assists.
Yeah, that's,
okay. You're totally right about that.
That is way cooler than mine. I am winning so far. All right, now for my take. This is take number 3. The Mavericks versus the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets versus the Lakers are the 2 must-watch series in the first round. Starting with the Dawn and the Mavericks. It feels like Luka finally has everything he needs to compete and beat the top-tier teams in the Western Conference. The addition of a superstar talent like Kyrie and big-time additions in the post with P.J. Washington and Gafford at the 5 could see the Mavericks find themselves deep in the Western Conference run with a big win over the Clippers. The Clippers have the ability to steal the show, and they certainly have the names to do it. On paper, the Clippers are a top 3 team in the NBA. They will either live up to it or find themselves a footnote in building Luka's legacy. The lazy analysis on this... I'm sorry. That was going into something else. I am so sorry. So let's just go ahead and stop with that one, with my take there. So right now, that isn't super clear what my take is. But my take is that the Luka-led Mavericks beat the Clippers in 5. What are your thoughts?
I agree, in my totally unbiased opinion, that the Mavericks are going to win. But I honestly think the game is going to go 6 or 7. I hope it does. I also hope it goes in the Mavs' favor. I want to see as much of these 2 teams battle it out as possible. But I think the Mavs are going to come on top, and I think it's going to be a really, really good series. And like you said at the beginning, a must watch for NBA fans.
Yeah, and I mean, think about what this. We've already talked about it a little bit, but what this playoff run could really mean for Luka. In the first round, we'll for sure get a rival of his in the Clippers. And then in the second round, if the Suns can somehow topple the Minnesota Timberwolves, then he gets to play his other rivals right up all the way to the conference championship. At that point, he might just be so hot there's nobody on earth that could slow that man down. Like, that really is a possibility being set up by just the way the standings fell for the Mavericks.
And Luka is also pretty good friends with Jokic, so to go up against these 2, the enemy in the Clippers and then the enemy in the Suns, and then to hopefully, in my opinion, beat his friend in Nikola Jokic, that would be an amazing playoffs for Luka.
I certainly agree. Now, breaking down the Denver versus Lakers game, this one I'm going to be. I feel less bullish on than when I first made it, but I love it. So the lazy analysis on the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets matchup is that the Nuggets completely dominated the Lakers and will continue to do so. Last year, the Nuggets won their 4 games by 6 in Game 1, 5 in Game 2, 11 in Game 3, and just 2 points in Game 4. The games were that close. These were not blowouts. The Nuggets at no point were dominating this series. These teams played in late May. The Lakers will have more rest going into this series after winning last night, but will also benefit from not having to play back-to-back nights like they do in later rounds. This could affect the fourth quarter of games. Last year, LeBron-led Lakers faltered in fourth quarters in this matchup. They didn't look so great in the game last night. Some pundits already accredit that to fatigue. The rest and getting the matchup in round 1 makes this matchup the most fun. The Nuggets have really gotten up for the Lakers since losing that series 4-1 in the bubble. The drama will be high, and both teams will be in top form. I think that the Lakers have a real chance here, and I'm not saying just a 7-game chance. This is about who captures the first away game. I expect Denver to win Game 1. I expect Game 2 to be highly contentious. I expect the Lakers to win Game 1 of their back home. Now, that 4th game for the Lakers bothers me because I think if you're sitting there and say the record's 2-1 or 1-2 the other way for the Nuggets, and the Nuggets are going back home saying we could win both games and find ourselves, like we could win 2 more games and find ourselves on top. You don't want to make it close with the Nuggets. I think that's not a recipe for success with the Lakers either. I think it's got to be a win in Game 2, a dominant home showing, and a closeout game. A strong closeout game. That's not exactly riding it to the wire, and I think the longer you take with the Nuggets, the more time you give Jokic to throw a 30, 35-foot turnaround 360 three-point shot up twice against AD with a hand in his face, possibly one of the best defenders in the NBA. So the less time that Jokic gets to do that, the better for the Lakers. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, I still have the Nuggets going on, but and I do have the Nuggets beating them, not handily, but I think the game will probably go 5-6 games. I mean, the series will go 5 or 6 games. But kind of like you said, I think in order for the Lakers to have a chance, they're gonna have to absolutely dominate. The games cannot be close.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say dominate, though I think you're on the right track. It is going to have to be like in the fourth quarter, Lakers are up 5, and the Nuggets never penetrate that 5. Like that's how it's not an easy ask. The Lakers here are definitely, punching up, but the possibility feels more there than it does even at last year, really. And is that your take as well, Jake?
Well, that's not exactly my take, but I kind of. I do agree that it's going to be different than last year, but we'll see about their chances.
Do you think this year's Lakers team is better than last year's? Because the Nuggets have stayed the same. I don't really have to. I mean, except for Bruce Brown, I do think that loss of Bruce Brown will come up in the playoffs. I don't know if it'll hurt them, but it is. Bruce Brown is the kind of guy that does it all. I really think of him as like a mini Draymond Green, and you can always benefit from a mini Draymond Green that doesn't punch people.
In terms of the Lakers, I think this team might be better. I don't know the stats or anything in front of me, but well, how far did the Lakers go last year? Do you know? Or they weren't in.
They went all the way to the Nuggets and lost to the Nuggets in 4. This is where they drew dead, but they were deep into. I believe that was the conference finals or close to it. I mean, they had gone in there. Yeah, and I want to point that out is once you get in those later rounds, that extra day of rest isn't there. They're back to backs. They're every other night. You're playing a big game, and who does that affect most? That affects older guys, and
Yeah.
The Lakers are now the epitome of older guys. I think they have my grandpa in basketball years on that squad. I having them in the first round. If there's ever a chance for the Lakers, it's now, right? That's if you ever wanted one shot, and if you're saying, hey, it has to be you versus the Nuggets for the West. Now you can play them in any round. You play them in round 1, and I think that's really one of the things that the Lakers have going in their direction. And it's time for us to go ahead and pivot for the last 14 minutes of the show.